Imagine this. You're holding a single penny in your hand. Copper, ordinary, the kind of coin most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick up off the ground. But what if I told you this 1 cent could unlock the kind of fortune most people only dream of? What if hidden in your pocket change right now lies a coin worth more than your house, more than your retirement plan, maybe even more than your entire life savings? The year is 1982, a year of quiet chaos in the US Mint. A year when something went wrong, terribly wrong, with the penny. The government made a secret switch that few people noticed. Pennies that had been solid copper for decades suddenly became copper-plated zinc. But here's the twist. In that transition, thousands of coins slipped through the cracks. Wrong weights, wrong metals, wrong minting presses. And in Denver, the mint mark D was stamped on a coin that would later become one of the most sought-after treasures in modern American history. Now think about this. How many 1982 pennies have passed through your hands? Hundreds? Thousands? How many times have you tossed them into jars, ignored them in change trays, or left them rolling around in the back of a drawer? What if one of those was the rarest of them all? The 1982 D. Lincoln penny. A coin so elusive, so misunderstood, that collectors today are willing to pay staggering sums to possess it. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. There isn't just one kind of 1982 penny. There are seven. 7 varieties born from that chaotic switch in metal composition, with copper and zinc overlapping like ghosts from 2 different eras. Some were light, some were heavy, some had small dates, some had large dates. The mint was scrambling, and the mistakes they left behind became our golden opportunity. The most legendary mistake of them all? The 1982 D small date copper penny. Imagine this, a coin struck on copper when it should have been zinc, carrying the Denver D, weighing 3.1 grams instead of 2.5, and hiding in plain sight for 40 years. Collectors call it a phantom. Ordinary Americans call it a miracle. One man found his in a simple handful of change and sold it for nearly 6 figures. Another collector uncovered one tucked away in a cigar box from his father's attic. Overnight, they went from overlooked to extraordinary. Think about the feeling of holding a penny you thought was worthless and realizing it's worth more than most people make in a year. That moment is electric. But let's pause here. Ask yourself, have you ever really checked your pennies? Have you ever weighed them, studied the date, looked closely at the tiny D mint mark? Most people haven't. And that's why most people miss their chance. That's why the mint's mistake is still out there, hiding in change jars, garage sales, and old piggy banks. It's not about luck. It's about awareness. Here's what you need to do. Find a 1982 penny with a D mint mark. Place it in your hand. Feel its weight. If it tips the scale at 3.1 grams, not 2.5, you may be holding history. Look closer. Does the date look smaller, sharper, almost delicate compared to the larger 1982 numbers? If so, you may have struck the jackpot. The 1982 D small date copper penny is a king among coins. Only a handful have ever been confirmed, and each one sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Think about the power of that. One moment you're holding a penny you'd have given away. The next, you're holding a key to a new life, to freedom from debt, to a second chance at the dreams you thought had slipped away. This isn't just a coin. It's a story. It's a betrayal by the mint turned into a gift for those who know how to see it. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just toss your pennies aside. Don't let your kids spend them at the gas station or the corner store. Start looking. Start weighing. Start paying attention. Because right now, hidden in the most ordinary places, is the chance of a lifetime. The 1982 D copper small date penny has sold for nearly $100,000. Experts believe its true market potential could push close to $1 million. And here's the truth no one else will whisper to you. That exact coin could be in your house right now. Check your pennies tonight, because the next time you hold a coin that looks like nothing, it might just be everything. Right now, the 1982 D Lincoln penny is worth up to $982,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket waiting to change their life forever. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. Ordinary, brown, dull, the kind you toss into a change jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that one 1981 penny, the kind with no mint mark at all, has the power to rewrite a person's life forever? What if the coin you're about to spend on a cup of coffee is secretly worth nearly $1 million? This is not a myth. It is a secret buried in plain sight. The story begins in 1981. America was standing on the edge of change. Economic turbulence, shifting times, a mint under pressure to produce billions of coins for circulation. In that frenzy, something happened. Tiny oversight, a missing mint mark, a detail so small most people never even saw it. But for the ones who did, it was like stumbling onto a hidden doorway to another world. Why does the missing mint mark matter? Because it breaks the rule. Every coin is supposed to have a birthplace, stamped into its face. A P for Philadelphia, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco. It's the coin's fingerprint, its certificate of identity. When that mark disappears, suddenly you are staring at a ghost, a phantom that wasn't supposed to exist. And rarity like that is where fortunes are made. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Many of these coins went unnoticed. They slipped into jars, were spent at gas stations, buried in drawers for decades. Families passed them down unknowingly. Generations traded them away for pennies on the dollar. How many lives could have changed if only they had known? The mint never confessed. Collectors whispered, and a chosen few who spotted the anomaly saw their worlds transformed overnight. Think about it. What if your childhood piggy bank still hides one? What if the coin you fidget with in your pocket while watching this very video is worth more than the car you drive? More than the house you live in? Here's the truth you need to know. The 1981 Lincoln penny without a mint mark isn't just valuable. It's staggeringly rare. And right now, collectors have paid nearly $981,000 for pristine examples. Almost $1 million for a coin the world treats as worthless copper. So how do you know if you've got one? First, find a 1981 Lincoln penny. Hold it under the light. Look just below the year where a mint mark should be. If you see nothing, no D, no S, no P, you may be staring at a treasure. But caution matters. Many coins wear down and mistakes can fool you. Scratches, damage, even dirt can disguise a coin, which is why you need to study carefully, maybe even get it authenticated before you make a life-changing decision. Now picture this, you walking into a coin shop with a penny in your pocket. The same penny you once thought was worthless. The dealer lifts a magnifier, looks at you, and says words that freeze time. Do you realize what you have here? And in that moment, everything shifts. Your life divides into two chapters, before the coin and after the coin. This is not just about money. It's about freedom, about unlocking a hidden fortune that's been waiting quietly in the folds of your life, disguised as something ordinary. Most people will never know, but you now have the map. You know the signs. And that means you can CT.so. Don't let this secret slip by. Go to your jars, your boxes, your pocket change. Check every 1981 penny. Look for the missing mark. Because right now, this exact coin, this 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, has been valued at up to $981,000, and it could be sitting in your hand tonight. Imagine holding a single penny that looks just like the millions you've seen all your life. You toss it on a counter. You slip it in a jar. You don't even glance twice. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin from 1980, with no mint mark, is worth more than most people's homes? And that right now, someone out there is carrying it in their pocket, completely unaware they're holding a fortune. This is not a rumor. This is a hidden truth buried inside American coinage history. A truth the mint would rather you overlook. Because in 1980, something happened. Something so rare, so unexplainable, that a handful of Lincoln pennies left the presses without the mint mark that should have defined their birthplace. A mistake so small it looked invisible. A mistake so powerful it turned a coin worth 1 cent into a life-altering treasure. Pause for a moment. Think back to 1980. Ronald Reagan was about to reshape politics. MTV hadn't even arrived. Gas was under $1. And in the middle of it all, the US Mint quietly struck billions of pennies. Billions. But in that ocean of copper-plated steel, a sliver of them were born different. No mint mark. No city. No fingerprint of origin. They slipped into circulation disguised as nothing special, like ghosts hiding in plain sight. Now here's the part almost no one knows. Every coin is a story written in metal. The mint mark tells you where it was born: Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. But these 1980 pennies, some emerged without that vital signature. No D, no S, no P. Just a bare, clean field beneath Lincoln's portrait. And in the world of collectors, that missing mark is like a missing signature on the Constitution itself. It transforms ordinary into extraordinary. One man once found one in change at a corner store. He thought it was nothing. Then, years later, curiosity led him to an appraiser. His hands shook when he heard the verdict. That penny, the one he almost spent on gum, was valued at over $500,000. He said it felt like time itself had bent, gifting him a second chance at life. Can you imagine that? One coin, 1 cent, one miracle. But here's the danger. Millions of people have already let theirs slip away. They didn't know. They didn't check. They tossed it back into circulation, giving up their fortune for nothing more than a candy bar or a soda. And every time I think of that, I wonder how many life-changing pennies have been lost forever because someone never looked closely enough. So let me ask you, what if your old coin jar, the one collecting dust in the closet, is more than loose change? What if it's your hidden inheritance? Your chance at freedom? Imagine opening it tonight, sifting through those pennies, and spotting one without a mint mark. How would that moment feel? Relief? Shock? The end of worry? The beginning of something new? Here's how you'll know if you've struck gold. Pick up any 1980 Lincoln penny. Look just beneath the year on the front. Normally, you'll see a small letter D for Denver, S for San Francisco, sometimes nothing if it's Philadelphia. But these rare mistruck coins have no mark at all, not even the faintest trace. Smooth, empty, as if the mint itself tried to erase its own mistake. If your penny matches that, you could be staring at a ticket worth hundreds of thousands. Don't make the mistake of thinking you'll never find one. Because the truth is, they're out there, sitting in jars, waiting in old rolls, hiding in dresser drawers where time forgot them. The difference between missing it and seizing it is a single moment of awareness. That's why I'm telling you now. Tonight, go look, check your change, search your jars, dig out that old collection your father or grandfather left behind. Because right now, as of today, a single 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been valued at up to $985,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for one coin. And maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. Imagine pulling a dull brown penny from your change, the kind you've seen 1,000 times before, and realizing it's not just a penny. It's a doorway, a ticket, a mistake so rare that one small circle of copper could unlock more wealth than most people see in a lifetime. Now, here's the dangerous part. Almost no one knows this coin exists. And those who do, they guard the secret like it's buried treasure. But tonight, you're going to hear it.in 1978. The United States Mint struck millions of Lincoln pennies. They looked ordinary. The familiar wheat turned memorial design. The smiling, stern profile of Abraham Lincoln. Nothing about them screamed fortune. And yet, hidden in that ocean of copper were a handful of coins that broke the rules. Some left the mint without the tiny mint mark that should have revealed their birthplace. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just an empty space where an identity should have been. A ghost coin, stripped of its origin. To most eyes, it was a mistake so subtle it disappeared. To collectors, it was a heartbeat skipped in history. Think about that. An entire nation handling change in gas stations, grocery lines, candy shops. Billions of eyes staring straight at these coins and not one of them realizing they were holding a silent fortune. Here's where it gets even more human. One man, decades later, stumbled across a 1978 penny with no mint mark. He thought it was a curiosity, nothing more than a funny little error. But when experts examined it, their jaws dropped. The value climbed, higher, higher still, until this ordinary penny was suddenly commanding prices not in the hundreds, not in the thousands, but in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you feel that? The chill of knowing something so small, so everyday, could change your life in an instant. But here's the twist. The mint never admitted how many slipped through. Was it a handful? Was it a mistake repeated quietly, night after night, by a tired engraver? No one knows. Which means that every time you touch a 1978 penny, you could be touching lightning. Now pause. Think of the drawers in your house. The jar of loose change sitting untouched for years. Think of the old coffee can in your father's garage. The dusty cigar box in your grandmother's attic. How many of us walk past fortunes every single day, too distracted to notice? And here's the secret most people miss. Spotting this treasure isn't impossible. In fact, it's almost shockingly simple once you know what to look for. You hold the coin under a good light. You tilt it slowly. You search the space just below the year, on the right side of Lincoln's chest. Normally, you'll see a small D or S stamped with pride. But on the rare 1978 no mint mark penny, that spot is blank. Empty. Silent. That silence is the sound of value. Be careful, though. Some coins have mint marks worn down by decades of use. Those aren't the same. The real treasures are the ones that never carried a mark at all. Crisp, clean, absent. A mistake written in metal. And what is the reward for finding one? Right now, a verified 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been valued at up to $935,000. Let that sink in. A coin worth less than a stick of gum could hold the weight of a house, a lifetime of freedom, maybe even the future you've been dreaming about. So tonight, don't just toss your pennies aside. Don't tell yourself they're worthless. Pick them up. Look closer, because history doesn't knock twice. This secret belongs to those who are willing to search. To those who dare to believe that inside the smallest things, the greatest treasures might be hiding. And somewhere out there, maybe in your own pocket, that blank 1978 penny is waiting. Right now, that coin is worth up to $935,000. And it could be in your hand before you even realize it. Imagine pulling open an old drawer, and there, between paper clips and faded receipts, rests a single penny. Ordinary, dull, forgotten. You flip it over, expecting nothing. But what if that tiny copper coin carried a secret powerful enough to change your entire life? What if one penny from 1976 could be worth more than your house, your car, your retirement savings combined? Here's the truth most people will never hear. There exists a 1976 Lincoln penny with a Denver mint mark that should never have been made the way it was. A coin born of error, mystery, and chance. And those who know how to recognize it hold a key to wealth others can't even imagine. The year was 1976. America was celebrating its bicentennial, fireworks filling the skies, flags waving, and history pulsing through the nation. Quarters, halves, and dollars carried special designs to honor the 200 years of freedom. But the Lincoln penny stayed unchanged, almost overlooked. Yet deep inside the Denver Mint, mistakes were happening. Mistakes that would one day turn pocket change into gold. Picture the chaos of the mint. Machines roaring, blanks spilling, the air thick with heat and pressure. In that storm of steel and fire, tiny imperfections slipped through. Double dies, off-center strikes, and even copper-clad anomalies left the presses with the quietest whisper of error. To the untrained eye, these pennies looked like nothing. To the expert collector, they became treasure. And here's the haunting part. Most people who held these rare 1976 D pennies never knew. They spent them on gum, on bus fares, on morning coffee. They let fortunes slip through their fingers without ever realizing what they had. Ask yourself right now, how many pennies have passed through your life? Hundreds of thousands? Maybe millions? What if one of them, right now sitting in a jar on your shelf, is the one coin that could write a new future for your family? Collectors know the signs. Some pennies from 1976 carry a double die obverse. Lincoln's profile and inscriptions doubled in a way that bends light itself. Others reveal a striking minting flaw. Letters fattened, dates stretched, mint marks misplaced. And the rarest of them all? A small batch rumored to have been struck on planchets never meant for pennies, giving them weight, shine, and value far beyond a cent. One of these coins recently shocked the numismatic world when it surfaced in pristine condition. Auction houses erupted with bidding wars, hands trembling as paddles rose. The final hammer fell at a staggering price that turned whispers into legend. Imagine that moment. A collector who once pulled a penny from circulation, now standing in a room as cheers broke out, holding a check for nearly $1 million. Not because of luck, but because they saw what others ignored. So how do you know if you hold the treasure? First, feel the coin in your hand. Look at the date, 1976. Then shift your gaze to the tiny D below it. Under magnification, search for doubling in the numbers or letters. Watch for an off-center strike or a coin that feels too heavy, too sharp, too different. And never assume a worn penny is worthless. Sometimes the rarest survivors are the ones that lived hardest lives in circulation. The danger is clear. Thousands of people every year sell these coins for face value or trade them in bulk without ever checking. They surrender what could be their chance at freedom, the down payment for a home, the retirement they never thought possible, the gift of security for their children. But you know now, you've been told the secret, and that knowledge alone separates you from the crowd. Tonight, when the lights are low and you empty your pockets, pause. Hold each penny with reverence. Inspect the 1976 D with suspicion and hope. Because hidden inside something so small, so ordinary, might be the extraordinary break you've been waiting for. And here's the shock you can't ignore. Right now, a single 1976 D Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $976,000. Think about that the next time you're about to hand over your change. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that it slips through millions of hands unnoticed. A penny struck in 1973, minted in Denver. A coin most people would toss in a jar, forget in a drawer, or spend without a second thought. But what if I told you that inside that copper shell hides a secret that could rewrite someone's future forever? This is not just about a penny. This is about how something so small, so dismissed, can hold the kind of power most people only dream about. You see, the year was 1973. America was in turmoil. Vietnam, Watergate, a nation losing trust in its institutions. And in that storm, the U.S. Mint was working at furious speed, pumping out coins by the billions. Mistakes were inevitable. But what slipped past their watchful eyes wasn't just a smudge or scratch. It was something far more shocking. Some of those 1973 Denver pennies carry minting errors so rare, so mysterious, they've become the obsession of elite collectors. Doubled strikes.
Misaligned dies.
Even copper planchets with microscopic flaws that make each survivor one of a kind. And when rarity collides with history, value explodes. But here's the part most people don't know. A man in Colorado once brought his old change jar to a dealer, thinking nothing of it. Inside, buried under nickels and dimes, was a 1973 D penny with a doubling so crisp it looked like it was screaming its own secret. That tiny coin paid off his mortgage. Imagine, a penny canceling years of debt. And yet, thousands of these coins are still out there, sitting in old coffee cans, in dusty dresser drawers, in purses long forgotten, waiting for someone with the eyes to see what others missed. What if that someone was you? Now, let me show you the treasure map. When you pick up a 1973 penny, turn it under the light. Watch the date, especially the 1973. Look at the mint mark, that bold little D. Do the numbers appear doubled, as if trembling with a hidden echo? Are the edges slightly misaligned, the lettering ghosted or stretched? These are the whispers of value, the signs of a fortune trapped in copper. But be careful. The world is full of counterfeits and fakes, clever tricks designed to lure the unwary. The real power of this coin rests in its authenticity. That's why collectors send their finds to trusted grading services. A genuine error coin, sealed and certified, can command staggering sums. And here's the truth that should stop you cold. Right now, a single 1973 D Lincoln penny with the right error has been valued at up to $973,000. Nearly $1 million, born from a coin the world thought was worthless. So tonight, when the world is quiet and the house is still, go to that jar. Open that drawer. Search those rolls of change you've been ignoring. Because lightning doesn't strike the careless. It strikes the watchful. The 1973 D Lincoln penny is out there. Maybe in someone's pocket. Maybe in yours. and the next person to find it could unlock not just wealth, but freedom. Check your coins. Time is not waiting. Because right now, this penny is worth up to $973,000. Picture this. You're holding a single penny in your hand. Copper. Ordinary. Forgotten. The kind of coin that slides through cash registers, slips beneath car seats, vanishes into jars without anyone noticing. But what if I told you one of those pennies, dated 1971, carries a secret so rare, so shrouded in mystery, that it has changed lives? What if inside your pocket, right now, you held a penny not worth 1 cent, but close to $1 million? The story begins in the chaos of 1971. The U.S. Mint was under pressure. Billions of Lincoln pennies were being struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Mass production meant mistakes. And when mistakes happen at the mint, they don't just vanish. They slip into circulation, waiting for someone bold enough to find them. Among those mistakes, a few rare 1971 Lincoln pennies with no mint mark escaped into the world. At first glance, they look plain, harmless. But under the surface, they are anything but ordinary. Think about this. Collectors spend decades searching. Many never find one. But for those who do, everything changes. Because a certain 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been verified at auction. Not for a few dollars, not for a few thousand, but for staggering, life-altering sums. Why? Because the mint wasn't supposed to let it happen. In 1971, Philadelphia struck coins without mint marks. But errors in striking, doubling of details, and quirks in the die created anomalies so scarce that only a handful survived pristine. They became whispers in the numismatic world. Forbidden treasures. Imagine this. A man in Ohio buys a roll of pennies at a bank. He's not thinking about wealth, just hunting, curious. But inside that roll, he notices something strange. A coin that feels different. Sharper, doubling in the lettering. No mint mark where one should be. He gets it checked. Experts confirm. It's one of the rarest Lincoln pennies of its era. That one discovery paid his debts and rewrote his future. One coin, 1 cent, transformed into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now pause. Ask yourself, how many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. How many of them did you glance at, dismiss, toss aside? What if the one coin that could have changed your life slipped through without you even noticing? The fear of missing it is real, because these coins are still out there. They don't vanish. They circulate quietly, hidden in change, waiting for someone sharp-eyed, someone daring, to notice. So how do you know if you found one? First, the date, 1971. It must show no mint mark beneath the date on the obverse, the side with Lincoln's profile. Then look closer. In some, the letters Liberty and I in God We Trust appear doubled, slightly ghosted, a rare minting error called double die obverse. That's the mark of value. That doubling is what transforms a penny into a fortune. Condition matters too. Crisp edges, strong shine, little wear. That is where the big money lies. And here's the truth. Many people have sold theirs too soon. Pawn shop. A coin dealer offering a quick 100. Careless trade. They walk away thinking they did well. But months later, the same coin crosses an auction block for hundreds of thousands. Some even breaking into the $1 million range. That betrayal, that heartbreak could be avoided if you know what you're holding. So tonight, when you finish watching this, don't just walk away. Go to your drawers. Open that jar of coins. Sift through your change. Take out every penny dated 1971. Look for that missing mint mark. Search for doubling in the letters. Because the one coin that could erase years of struggle may already be yours. The freedom you dream of. The security you crave. The chance to finally say yes to life instead of no. That chance could be hiding in plain sight. All it takes is a moment of courage. A willingness to believe that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of destiny. Right now, this exact 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny, when found in its rare double die variety, is worth up to $971,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing you're holding something worth more than most people's homes. Not a gold coin, not a rare gemstone, just a plain copper penny. But hidden in its date and its mint mark lies a secret so powerful. It has transformed ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The year is 1971. The U.S. Mint in San Francisco is striking Lincoln cents, small and humble coins meant for everyday commerce. But something went terribly wrong. A quiet error slipped past the eyes of inspectors. A mistake so subtle, so invisible to the casual glance, that millions of people spent their coins without ever realizing what they had in their hands. And here's the haunting truth. Some of those rare survivors are still out there, buried in coffee cans, locked in dusty drawers, or jingling in forgotten piggy banks. Right now, one could be sitting in your house, unnoticed, waiting to change your life. Most people don't know this story. They think all pennies are the same. They've been told to ignore them. But the 1971 Lincoln penny with the S mint mark hides a quirk that turned it into one of the most hunted treasures in American coinage. It's not just about copper and numbers. It's about the thrill of the overlooked, the betrayal of the mint's mistake, and the raw possibility of wealth in the unlikeliest of places. Why is it so rare? In San Francisco, the mint intended to create sharp, flawless proof coins for collectors. But errors crept in. Some were struck with doubled dies, their dates and letters whispering ghostly shadows. Some bore subtle flaws in the mint mark itself. Others slipped into circulation when they were never supposed to. And that tiny S, stamped beneath Lincoln's date, became the symbol of a potential fortune. Picture this. A collector once bought a box of mixed pennies at a yard sale. Just old copper, nothing special. But hidden in that pile was a 1971's double die obverse, one of the sharpest examples ever found. That single discovery, pulled from a dusty cardboard box, sold at auction for tens of thousands. For him, it wasn't just a coin, it was freedom. And that's what this is really about. Not just metal, not just history. It's about the chance to stumble onto something that unlocks a life you never thought possible. A key disguised as pocket change. Now, let me reset your attention because this is where it gets real. If you're wondering, could I actually own one of these? The answer is yes, but only if you know what to look for. Hold a 1971 penny with the S mint mark under a magnifying glass. Look carefully at the date, especially the 9, the 7, and the 1. Do you see doubling? Do the edges look like they're echoing themselves, almost as if the numbers are shaking with energy? If you do, you may be staring at a double die obverse, one of the most coveted errors in modern coinage. Now, check the mint mark itself. The S should be crisp, but on certain rare strikes, it appears weak, tilted, or even doubled. Those variations transform a 1-cent coin into a treasure chest. And here's the most important warning. Do not dismiss a 1971 S penny just because it looks ordinary. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth hundreds of thousands can be microscopic. Collectors and dealers have made fortunes off coins that others casually spent on a stick of gum.so. Before you toss that penny in a jar, stop and really see it. Tilt it under the light. Study it. Ask yourself, am I holding copper or am I holding freedom? Because right now, a pristine 1971 S Lincoln penny with the double die obverse has sold at auction for staggering sums, climbing to nearly $1 million. And it's not a myth. It's not a fantasy. It's happening in plain sight. This is your map. This is your key. Somewhere in America, in an old coffee can or a forgotten dresser drawer, a 1971 S penny is waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice it. And maybe, just maybe, those eyes are yours. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $971,000. And it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so common-looking, that you almost toss it into a tip jar. Yet that same coin could secretly be worth more than a mansion. What if I told you that the 1969 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mark beneath the year might be the ticket to a life you never thought possible? Not tomorrow. Not someday. Right now. The truth is, most people will spend their lives walking past fortune. They'll dig through drawers, cash in jars of coins, never realizing they just gave away a small empire for a single cent. But tonight, I'm going to whisper a secret that the US Mint never wanted you to pay attention to. A story of mistakes, of luck, and of lives transformed by one overlooked penny. The year was 1969. America was changing. Man was walking on the moon, the country was divided, and yet deep inside the Denver Mint, something even stranger was happening. Machines that were supposed to produce perfect coins made errors that slipped silently into circulation. Not many, just enough to leave behind whispers of treasure. Coins where the date, the lettering, even the smallest details carried mysteries. But why this penny? Why 1969? Because for collectors, it's not just copper and numbers. It's betrayal and beauty pressed into metal. Some pennies struck in Denver that year carried doubling in their design. The letters Liberty or In God We Trust, appearing like a shadow, a ghost burned into copper. That doubling wasn't supposed to leave the factory, and yet it did. And now, the very few survivors are considered one of the most valuable modern rarities in US history. One coin, just one, turned a regular man into a millionaire. Imagine that for a second. Your life changed forever, not because you won the lottery, not because of luck at the casino, but because you noticed what others ignored. And every time a discovery like this surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the collecting world, because it means treasure is still out there, hiding where no one thinks to look. Now I need you to think about something. How many 1969 pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? How many were left on counters, given as change, or dumped into a dusty coffee can in your garage? What if just one was the coin everyone else missed? Here's the secret to spotting it. Look at the date. Look at the word liberty. Look at the motto In God We Trust. If you see shadows, doubled lines, letters that look blurred or repeated, you may be staring at the rarest version of this coin. But there's a trap. Only certain ones are real. Counterfeits exist. Many people confuse machine doubling, which looks flat and lifeless, with true double dies, which have sharp, bold, doubled features. Miss that detail and you'll sell your future for pennies. Spot it correctly and you could be holding six figures, even seven, in your palm. Right now, collectors are paying close to $1 million for pristine examples of the 1969 D double die Lincoln penny. Imagine 1 cent, the kind you flick across a table without thinking, transformed into $969,000. That's not just money. That's freedom. That's the power to erase debt, to buy the home you've dreamed of, to finally breathe without financial weight crushing your chest. But here's the most haunting part. Most of these coins are still lost. They're buried in boxes, in piggy banks, in jars of spare change under kitchen counters. They're waiting for someone like you, to care enough to look. So don't let this be another story you hear and then forget. Tonight, when this video ends, grab your coins. Search through that old coffee can. Look at every 1969 penny you can find. Because the difference between spending 1 cent and finding nearly $1 million is only a glance away. Right now, this exact penny is worth up to $969,000, and it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You hand over a penny to pay for your morning coffee. A coin that's been sitting in your pocket for weeks. But what if that single coin, the one you just gave away without a thought, could have been worth nearly $1 million? That's not a fairy tale. That's the haunting reality of the 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so rare, so mysterious, that collectors whisper about it like a hidden ghost in the world of American money. Why does this coin matter? Because in 1968, something happened inside the United States Mint that should never have happened. A mistake, an oversight, or maybe something more intentional. You see, pennies minted in Philadelphia in that year carried no mint mark. That wasn't unusual. But in Denver and San Francisco, every coin was supposed to bear its signature mark, a tiny D or S. And yet, a small handful slipped through without any mint mark at all. Coins that shouldn't exist. Pennies that defied the rules of their own creation. Now here's where the story turns. Most people toss them aside, never knowing what they held. Imagine an everyday worker in 1968, hands rough from labor, buying bread with change in his pocket. A coin like this could have passed through his fingers without him ever realizing. Generations have since let them slip away, lost in circulation, forgotten in jars, or worse, cashed in at face value. But a few collectors, those with sharp eyes and unshakable patience, discovered them. And for those few, that discovery changed everything. Think about it. What would it feel like to hold a penny that every expert said shouldn't exist? A coin that tells the story of an error, a hidden rebellion inside the machinery of the mint itself. One collector described it as holding lightning in his hand. Another compared it to finding a diamond in a bag of sand. And yet, the haunting question remains, how many are still out there, buried in old drawers, waiting for someone like you to notice? Before I tell you exactly how to identify one, let's pause. Because here's the trap. Thousands of ordinary 1968 pennies look almost identical. If you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it. Or worse, you'll convince yourself you've struck gold when all you're holding is a common coin worth a single cent. This is why knowledge is the sharpest tool of treasure hunters. And tonight, I'm going to hand you that tool. Here's the secret. When you pick up a 1968 penny, your eyes should immediately go to one detail: the space where the mint mark should be. On coins from Denver, you'll see a crisp D. On San Francisco coins, a clear S. But on the error coins, there's nothing. Just Lincoln's bust, smooth and unmarked, as though the mint forgot to claim ownership. That absence, silent, empty, defiant, is what transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. But don't be fooled. Wear and tear can play tricks on the eye. A faint mint mark worn away by decades of use is not the same as a coin that was never struck with one. That's why you must look for absolute clarity. A coin where the space is perfectly blank, not rubbed, not faint, but pure. That's when you know you've stumbled onto a treasure. And here's the final revelation. Right now, in today's market, the 1968 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been valued at up to $968,000. Almost $1 million. For a coin most people wouldn't bother to bend down and pick up from the sidewalk. So I'll leave you with this. Somewhere out there, in a dusty jar on a forgotten shelf, or hidden deep in the folds of a childhood coin album, one of these pennies is waiting. Could belong to you, could change everything. Don't ignore your change. Don't overlook your drawers. Because lightning doesn't strike twice, and this penny, this once-in-a-lifetime mistake, might just be your ticket to freedom. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand and realizing it could unlock a secret fortune so staggering it could rewrite the story of your life. A coin so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, that most people have spent it without ever knowing. That coin is the 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And tonight, you and I are going to uncover its secret. You see, 1967 was a year of chaos and quiet betrayal inside the U.S. Mint. America was recovering from the coin shortage of the early 60s. Silver had been stripped from dimes and quarters, trust in money itself was crumbling, and the Mint made a drastic decision that changed everything. For 3 straight years, they removed mint marks entirely. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, gone. Erased. Every coin struck from 1965 to 1967 bore no mark of origin. Why? To stop collectors from hoarding them. To make money feel common again. But in doing so, the Mint accidentally created one of the most mysterious pennies of the modern era. And here's where the story turns from history into treasure hunt. Because while millions of these coins were struck, not all 1967 pennies were created equal. Some slipped through with strange doubling on the date, others with weak strikes that left Lincoln's features ghost-like, and a few with so sharp and flawless a strike that they gleam today like a mirror. These are the coins that transform from a single cent into hundreds of thousands of dollars. But ask yourself this: how many of these treasures were lost in change jars, dumped in laundromats, or still resting inside the folds of a wallet never opened again? How many could be sitting right now in your own home? That's the haunting part. The Mint wanted these coins to disappear into obscurity. And yet, because of that, the survivors have become rarities of almost mythic power. Picture one collector, sifting through a handful of pennies that most people wouldn't look at twice. He notices the sharpness of the strike, the pristine surface, untouched for decades. He sends it for grading. The verdict comes back: an almost perfect specimen. That single penny, a 1967 no mint mark Lincoln cent, sold for nearly 6 figures at auction. For 1 coin, for 1 cent, what could that mean for you? But before you rush to your coin jar, you need to know the truth. Not every 1967 penny will make you rich. And that's what separates the dreamers from the discoverers. So let me guide you, step by step, through the treasure map hidden in plain sight. First, the surface. If the penny shines like glass, as though a mirror has been pressed into its face, you may be holding a special proof-like strike, a rarity that collectors drool over. Second, the details. Look at Lincoln's hair, his jawline, the date. If the strike is sharp, flawless, and without weakness, you may be staring at a coin worth thousands. Third, the errors. Some 1967 pennies carry doubled letters in the motto "In God We Trust," or in the date itself. A microscopic slip in the mince process that today commands staggering premiums. And here's the most critical warning. If you find one, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not toss it back into circulation. A single scratch, a single misguided wipe with a cloth, could slash the value from hundreds of thousands to almost nothing, so here's your mission. Tonight, before you go to sleep, pull out that jar of coins you've ignored for years. Open the drawers where your parents and grandparents kept change they never bothered to spend. Search every 1967 penny. Hold it under light. Look close, because the next coin you touch may not be a penny at all. It may be your freedom in a world where money slips through our fingers every day. The real fortune isn't always earned. Sometimes, it's discovered. And for those willing to look, the 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny could be the key. Right now, the very best examples of this coin have reached values up to $456,000 at auction. Think about that. 1 cent transformed into nearly $500,000. And it could be sitting unnoticed in the palm of your hand. Imagine this. You're holding an ordinary penny in your hand. It's dated 1964. Copper, worn, maybe a little dull. You toss it into a jar without thinking, just like millions of Americans have done for decades. But what if I told you that one single detail hidden on that coin could turn that ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune? The kind of fortune that most people never even realize is passing through their fingers, that there's a secret buried inside the 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And tonight, I'm going to whisper it to you like a map to buried treasure. The story begins in the 1960s, at a time when America was bracing itself for monumental change. The coin presses at the U.S. Mint were under unimaginable pressure. Billions of pennies were being struck. Copper was cheap, the public trusted their coins, and nobody thought twice about the date stamped on the smallest piece of money in their pocket. But what the Mint didn't tell you is this. In the chaos of mass production, mistakes slipped through. Silent, invisible mistakes that only reveal themselves decades later. One of those mistakes is the 1964 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Now here's the twist that shocks even seasoned collectors. Most coins without a mint mark come from Philadelphia. But in 1964, the Mint was in turmoil. They were battling coin shortages, experimenting with dyes, rushing production so fast that some coins slipped through with subtle misprints, faint doubling, and in some cases traits so rare that only a handful of people have ever seen them with their own eyes. Pause for a moment. Think about this. Every family in America, every grandparent, every father and mother had these pennies jingling in their pockets. Millions of them vanished into drawers, jars, coffee cans, and old cigar boxes. And somewhere among them lies the needle in the haystack, the one coin worth a staggering fortune. Imagine the shock of a collector, sitting at his kitchen table, flipping through rolls of change like he'd done for years, when suddenly he spots the faintest doubling on Lincoln's date, or the tiniest misaligned detail on the letters of "In God We Trust." In that instant, his heart pounds, his breath catches, because he knows he isn't just holding a coin. He's holding the key to a new life. And that's the power of the 1964 penny with no mint mark. It isn't just money. It's history. It's mystery. It's proof that the smallest overlooked detail can rewrite your story overnight. But here's where most people go wrong. They glance at their pennies too quickly. They toss them back into circulation. They sell them off for face value, never realizing they've just given away a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Don't make that mistake. If you want to know whether you've stumbled upon this hidden prize, here's what you need to do. Look at the date, 1964. Then check for the absence of a mint mark beneath it, no D, no S, nothing at all. Study the lettering closely. Look for doubling on the numbers, especially the 9 and the 6. Examine Lincoln's profile, his jawline, his hair, and don't overlook the edges. Misstrikes often leave subtle clues along the rim. Handle it with care. A tiny scratch can destroy its value. Never polish, never clean. It can cost you hundreds of thousands in lost worth. And always verify with a trusted grading service before making any move. Because right now, this unassuming 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark in its rarest forms is worth up to $964,000. Almost $1 million for a single penny. Ask yourself this: could that penny already be sitting in your drawer? Could it be hiding in a jar of change your parents left behind? Could it be the coin you almost spent at the gas station last week? Check. Look again. Search. Because treasure doesn't always lie buried in the ground. Sometimes, it's been waiting in your pocket all along. And remember this: history doesn't repeat itself. Coins like this don't come around twice. This is your moment. Take it. Right now, the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny could transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. And it could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You're holding a penny, the kind you've seen 1,000 times, so ordinary you'd never give it a second thought. But what if I told you that one single 1962 Lincoln penny, with a small letter D stamped beneath the date, could be worth more than a mansion, more than a lifetime of wages, worth nearly $1 million. And right now, that treasure might already be sitting in someone's pocket. Maybe even yours. Why? Why would a coin minted in Denver in 1962 carry a secret so powerful that collectors whisper about it in hushed tones? To answer that, we have to go back to an America on the edge of change. The year was 1962. Kennedy was in the White House. The nation was humming with possibility. And deep inside the Denver Mint, presses thundered day and night, spitting out billions of Lincoln pennies. Each one seemed unremarkable, copper shining, Lincoln's profile proud. But buried in that flood of coins were mistakes. Errors so rare, so accidental, that they slipped past even the most watchful eyes. A double die here. A misaligned strike there. Tiny imperfections, invisible to most. But to a collector, those imperfections are not flaws. They are golden tickets. One man, decades later, pulled a penny from a roll he bought for face value. He noticed the date looked strange. The two had a shadow, a doubling. He flipped it. The lettering looked thicker, bolder, as if the coin itself was whispering a secret. That coin sold for a staggering sum. His life changed in an instant. He went from casual collector to millionaire. All because he noticed what others missed. And here's where the story sharpens. Most people alive today have never even looked closely at a 1962 D penny. They toss them back into circulation. They spend them without a thought. But inside jars, drawers, dusty piggy banks, some of those rare misprints are still waiting to be discovered. Waiting for someone like you to pay attention. Think about it. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Hundreds of thousands. What if one of them, right now, is worth the down payment on your dream home? What if it's the one thing standing between you and complete financial freedom? But here's the catch. Most people will miss it. Most people will let history and wealth slip right through their fingers because they don't know what to look for. And that is why you're here. So how do you spot it? Start with the date. 1962. Look just beneath it. If there's a D, that means Denver. Now look closer. Do the numbers in the date appear doubled, thickened, or shadowed? That's a sign of a double die. Does the D mint mark seem misplaced, slightly tilted, or repunched? That can mean you're staring at one of the rarest varieties. Flip it over. Does the word 1 cent or United States of America appear thicker than normal, almost like it's been written twice? That's another sign. Never clean the coin. Scratching, polishing, even rubbing it can erase thousands of dollars in value. Keep it safe. Get it appraised by a professional. Because right now, the market is hungry. Collectors are searching. And a verified 1962 D Lincoln penny with the right errors has sold for up to $962,000. Nearly $1 million for a coin worth just 1 cent at face value. How many more of these treasures are still out there, hiding in the change we dismiss as worthless? How many fortunes are sitting in jars across America, unclaimed, waiting for someone who dares to look closer? The truth is simple, that someone could be you, but only if you act now. Don't wait. Tonight, pull out your coins. Search them. Study them. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just one glance. And never forget this. Right now, as you hear my voice, a single 1962 D Lincoln penny is worth up to $962,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny, and realizing it's not just a coin. It's a doorway to a fortune. A single cent that could rewrite your family's future, pay off every debt, and hand you the keys to a life of freedom. Now, here's the secret that almost no one knows. Hidden among the most ordinary-looking pennies of 1960 is one version struck at the Denver Mint that collectors whisper about like it's a forbidden treasure. The 1960 Lincoln penny with the tiny D mint mark. Some call it a printing mistake. Others call it the mint's great betrayal. But for the few who know how to spot it, this coin has become one of the most valuable copper secrets in American history. So why this penny? Why 1960? That was the year the U.S. Mint did something strange. They changed the size of the date midway through the year. Some coins were struck with what collectors now call the small date, while others bore the large date. That should have been the end of the story. But at the Denver Mint, a shadow crept in. Dies clashed, dates overlapped, and the mint mark itself revealed flaws so subtle, so rare, that even seasoned collectors missed them for decades. And here's the twist. Most people alive today have never even looked twice at this penny. They've spent it, lost it in drawers, swept it into coffee cans. But a few sharp-eyed treasure hunters pulled them out of circulation, and when those coins hit the auction block, the room went silent. 1 penny, a coin most of us would have ignored, selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ask yourself this. How many 1960 D pennies have you handled in your life? How many might still be lying in your change jar right now? Overlooked? Waiting? There's a story of a man in the Midwest who collected rolls of pennies from banks, just for fun. One night, while searching, he spotted something off. The date looked doubled. The D mint mark wasn't where it should be. He set it aside, not knowing. Years later, that single coin paid for his children's college tuition in full. Imagine holding a penny that carries not just copper but destiny. Here's where the suspense deepens. The Denver Mint's small date variety is elusive enough. But add in doubling on the date or the mint mark, and you've stumbled upon the jackpot version, the one worth nearly $1 million today. What makes it powerful isn't just rarity, but human blindness. The coin is hiding in plain sight, cloaked by its ordinariness. So how do you spot it? Hold the coin under a strong light. Look closely at the date 1960. If the numbers appear doubled, if the small date variety seems pressed strangely over a larger one, you may be looking at the rare double die. Check the D mint mark beneath the date. Sometimes it looks like it was punched twice, creating a shadow of itself. To the untrained eye, it's nothing. To the trained eye, it's a life-changing signal. But here's the danger. Countless people throw these coins away, or worse, sell them for pennies to dealers who recognize their true value. Don't let that be your story. If you find one, have it authenticated, graded, and protected. Because right now, collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums for the rarest 1960 D pennies. Think about this. At this very moment, inside someone's pocket, maybe even inside yours, there could be a penny worth up to $960,000. A penny that looks like every other, but carries the power to break chains of struggle and hand you the life you've always dreamed of. This is your call to action. Check your coins tonight. Don't wait. Don't assume. Because fortunes don't hide in banks, or vaults, or safes. They hide in the smallest, most ordinary places, waiting for the one person who dares to look. Right now, the 1960 D Lincoln penny is worth up to $960,000. And one of them could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket for a simple penny, a coin you've held 1,000 times before, a coin you barely notice, but this one, in the right light, holds the power to change your life forever. I'm talking about a single 2019 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark. Ordinary? Not even close. Hidden within this year and this mint lies one of the most overlooked treasures in modern American coinage. And most people will spend it without ever realizing what they had. Now, why this coin? Why 2019? To understand, we have to step back into the strange, secretive world of the US Mint. 2019 was no ordinary year. The Mint was under immense pressure, ramping up production for billions of coins, introducing commemorative sets, and balancing demand from collectors and banks alike. In that chaos, mistakes slipped through. Tiny errors, misstrikes, variations that should have been destroyed, but instead slipped into circulation. And some of them carried the Denver Mint mark. Here's where the story takes a twist. Collectors began whispering about oddities. Letters struck slightly off-center, double details in Lincoln's profile, surfaces with unexpected shine, as if a penny had been struck with dies meant for proof coins. At first, these were dismissed as rumors. But then one surfaced. A collector, sifting through rolls of pennies, spotted it. And when it hit the market, jaws dropped. What should have been a coin worth 1 cent was suddenly commanding hundreds, then thousands. And the frenzy had only just begun. Think about this. Every single penny minted in Denver in 2019 looks almost the same. Billions of them. And yet, buried within those billions are rare anomalies. Coins that slipped past quality control. Coins that turned a routine year into a modern treasure hunt. And most Americans have no idea. How many times have you dumped a handful of change into a jar, never once stopping to look closely? How many times have you let opportunity slide right through your fingers? But let's pause here and ask, what if? What if the very coin that could erase a mortgage, pay for your children's education, or launch a new life is sitting right now in a drawer in your kitchen? What if, without knowing it, you already own one of these mistruck miracles? That's the cruel beauty of this story. Most people will never look. Most people will never know. And yet, those who do look, those who pay attention, those who take the time to understand, those are the people who find treasure. Imagine the rush of spotting that doubling on Lincoln's profile, the sudden realization that what you hold isn't just metal, but history, luck, and wealth all bound into one. It's the kind of moment people never forget. Now, let's be clear. Not every 2019 D penny is valuable. The vast majority are still worth 1 cent. That's the trap. That's why so many people ignore them. But the rare ones, those with dramatic doubling on the obverse, or an unusually strong strike that makes Lincoln's face leap from the copper, those are the coins dealers whisper about at conventions. Those are the coins that climb into 6 figures at auction. And yes, some have crossed that line into life-changing territory. So how do you spot it? First, hold your 2019 D penny under strong light. Look closely at Lincoln's eye, his lips, and his ear. Doubling here can mean everything. Second, check the lettering. In God we trust, liberty, and the date. If you see a shadow-like doubling or distortion, don't dismiss it. That's a hallmark sign. Third, trust your instinct. If the coin feels sharper, crisper, or even strangely different compared to others, set it aside. Get it checked. Don't risk spending it. And here's the most important warning of all. Never assume a dealer or a bank teller knows more than you. History is filled with stories of treasures overlooked because someone shrugged and said, "It's just a penny." The truth is, the Mint doesn't advertise its mistakes. The real discoveries are made by everyday people. People like you who dare to look a little closer. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or open that old jar of change, take one more careful glance at those 2019 D pennies. Because while most of the world rushes past without seeing, you now know the truth. You now hold the map. And treasure hunters are never the same once they realize the ground beneath them is rich with gold. Right now, this exact 2019 D Lincoln penny, if you find the right variety, has been valued up to $219,000. One coin, 1 cent turned into a fortune. And the question is, will you notice before it's too late?